Hey, 7th graders, it's Mr. Allard again with another one of your flipped lessons. Today we're going to be working on the 5 themes of the social studies. We kind of started talking a little bit about this in class yesterday. These are going to be really important for you to know and understand throughout your study in history, not just in 7th grade, but in 8th grade, 9th grade, 10th grade, 11th grade, and 12th grade. These are going to be kind of the terms that kind of make history make sense and how we're going to study the historical impact of events and things like that. So you should have your 5 themes of social studies sheet. This should already be in your interactive notebook on page 5, I believe. Yep, page 5. Just check the board there. And what we're going to do is you're going to have one section of notes. Boom. You're going to have one section of buzzwords. And then down here, probably in class, you're going to be doing your drawings. All right. And we'll talk about that kind of at the end of the video. But here we go. All right. So first, again, we're going to jot down the bold and underlined terms that are going to fill in the blank. So political is the study of government and politics. So this is what I originally studied in college. I was a political science major. So we would study campaigns. We would study politicians. You might study how a bill becomes a law. You may study how social media might impact the government and influence them to do things. A lot of polls that you see are going to be political polls, like how many people are going to vote for which presidential candidate, etc. But when you're looking at the political aspect of an event, you're looking at how either the event impacted government and politics and laws and things like that, or how the government, politics, and laws and things like that impacted the event. So, for example, somebody studying the Erie Canal might, if they're looking at the political aspect of things, may look at how the Erie Canal bills were passed and how Governor DeWitt Clinton kind of pushed the Erie Canal bill to go through. Some buzzwords for political are going to be things like voting, President, Congress, Supreme Court, kind of our three houses of our legislature, laws and rights, and of course political parties. Today's are going to be the Democrats and Republicans. When we first start with the political parties, however, the Democrats and Republicans are going to be in the same party going against the Federalists, and we'll talk about that probably about December-ish if we're really on task and flying through what we need to fly through. But when you hear these words, you got to be thinking, oh, this is something that's political. This is where that's going to. Social is going to be the study of people, all right? So they're going to look at the aspects of how people impacted a historical event or historical time period. So if we go back to our example of the Erie Canal, we might look at the social impact of that on people. So how did cities along the canal grow? How were workers impacted on the canal? How did it impact people's movement to and from places, things like that. And that's very different than looking at the political aspects of it, because we're focusing on kind of the impact on everyday people. Okay, some social buzzwords. Again, a lot of these you're probably already aware of. Facebook, Twitter, Snapchat, all the different forms of social media. Education that you're taking part in right now in schools is going to be social. There's going to be some political aspects to it and things like that. But again, we're dealing with people. We're dealing with students and teachers. Religion is going to be part of our social culture and how people believe in their religions. Our culture is going to be social. Our ways of life, kind of our homes, our TV shows we watch, that type of stuff is going to be kind of how lots of times we define people and kind of make sense of people. Economic is going to be the study of money, resource, and distribution of goods and resources. So basically, when we talk about economy, one of the big factors we're going to be looking at is money. How, for us, at a 7th grade level, is how is the economy playing a role in that particular event. So if we go back to the Erie Canal, one of the things we might study if we're going to be an economic historian is we may study how the Erie Canal impacted trade. We may study how the production of goods increased or decreased based on in canal cities after the canal was built, something like that. We may look at how trade increase or decrease in certain cities along the canal, and maybe how fast it took to ship goods, those types of things. But everything is going to go back to kind of how people were making or distributing or trading money and valuable resources. So some economic buzzwords, we talked a little bit about it. Trade, all right, exchange of goods. That's going to be a big topic for us throughout the year. Doesn't matter if we're talking about the colonies, which were created for trade, talking about the American Revolution, or we're talking about the Civil War. Trade is going to have a big impact on our studies this year. Banks and the use of banks, all right. You know, mom and dad probably go to the bank a lot. Banks also loan money to kind of stimulate the economy. Money is obviously going to be a big one. Another big one that we're going to talk about, particularly during the American Revolution, is going to be taxes. Nobody likes taxes, but people like what taxes do, and we'll talk a little bit about that. But it has to do with all these things. If you're hearing these buzzwords, you're thinking economy. Geography is going to be the study of landforms and the relationships between landforms and people. So if we're studying the Erie Canal, a geography may look at how the different areas of New York impacted the building of canal. For instance, over near Lockport, it was very, very difficult to build the canal, and it took almost 3 years to build about a mile-long stretch. Whereas if we get to kind of the Finger Lakes area, once we got outside of Montezuma, it was fairly easy because the land was flat. It was good farmland to till, and we were able to build there relatively easily. A geographer is also going to look at why people live the way they live. So, for example, Native Americans, Iroquois tribe, they lived in longhouses. Why did they live in longhouses? Because they lived in forests. They had abundant resources of woods to use for homes. Why would the Great Plains Native Americans not have longhouses? Because there wasn't many trees in the grasslands. So we're going to study landforms and how they impact people. And here's a good map to kind of show you those geography buzzwords. Mountains, rivers, lakes, deserts. If you're seeing any sort of land or water feature, that's going to have something to do with geography. History is going to be the study of the past, and this is going to kind of encapsulate all of those different buzzwords. So if we go back, how is a historian going to look at the Erie Canal? They may look at all of those different aspects. They may single out one aspect. There's economic historians, there's geographical historians, there's social historians, there's political historians. There's not too many historians who just say name, date, time, place. Name, date, time, place. All right? They're not typically just going to talk about an event. They're going to talk about kind of the impact of the event and things like that, typically. More in our textbooks, we get a little bit more name and datey, but we're not going to really be focusing on them all that much. So, history buzzwords, what are we going to be looking for? We're going to be looking for kind of words and phrases that have to do with times and dates. A big one that we're going to be starting to look at next week is going to be primary and secondary sources. If we're looking at a particular event, maybe 9/11, maybe July 4th, something along those times. The era or the age of the event. So you may hear people talk about the Revolutionary War era or the Civil War era, knowing that lengthy time period that was really impacted by a singular event. All right, but that does it for our flipped lesson for tonight. We'll be working on this probably in class, but if not, down here at the bottom is we're going to get a visual representation of each of the different themes of the social studies. We'll have resources for you in the classroom, markers, colored pencils, all that good stuff for you to use. If you have that at home, feel free to use them because color will be part of the grade on that. Remember, make this chart your own. Till then, see you later.